Good morning, hockey fans. This is Stephen Heisler with IceHockey.com, the Victorious Hockey Company, and that absolutely crazy junior hockey discussion group on Facebook. You are watching the Junior Hockey Morning Show. We are on the World Sports Broadcasting Network, WSBN.TV, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Hopefully this morning you're watching us, or maybe it's going to be late in the evening, early in the afternoon. Does not matter. Just hope you enjoy what you're seeing. Come back, watch some more. Today is Wednesday, July 12th, 2023. Topic today are academics and a little bit about college hazing. My guest, the one and only Martin Unger. He's the academic advisor for Victorious Hockey. Good morning, Martin.
Good morning, Stephen. Hope you're doing well.
You know, people are laughing at us all the time. I got Martin doing academics. Why would you get a basketball guy to come and do academics? And it's an easy fix. If you can get basketball players qualified, hockey players going to be easy.
Piece of cake. Piece of cake.
A lot going on today. So, Martin, let's jump right into it. You know how the timetable hits us, and then we get time at the back of this. We'll talk a little bit more. When transferring high schools, how difficult is it with transfer credits, and how different are state, county graduation requirements?
Yeah, so it can be a little touch and go with some of these transfer stuff, just because on the transcripts, every state has different graduation requirements. So, if you decide, you're playing in New York and you're going to go play for a team in say South Dakota, and you're going to transfer schools, there's going to be different graduation requirements for each state. So in other words, you might need an extra history class because New York you didn't need that history class in New York, but now all of a sudden you need it in South Dakota. So those can be a little bit tricky, not as hard sometimes though, state to state, because it's really not that difficult. Just a couple of tweaks here and there. But if you're doing different countries. So let's say you played at a prep school in Canada and now you're moving back to the States. There's a lot of different things that can happen. I was actually looking at a transcript, trying to help out a kid and a dad yesterday where they're transferring back from Canada, wants to do an online school in the States. But, in the United States, you need U.S. history, government, those type of things. Well, they didn't teach that in Canada, obviously. So, he's lacking those. And instead of maybe needing 2 classes to graduate, he probably looks like he's going to need 6 or 7. Wow. So that changes things when you're looking at that, so you just have to take those things in consideration when transferring. And, if any parent or student athlete wants me to take a look at a transcript and kind of walk them through that stuff, I'm more than happy to do that if they're thinking about transferring.
We went through this here in Florida with my kids doing online school, and we had an issue earlier on. One of the programs that we were in, just one day, the whole damn website just shut down. And we had hockey players in that program, and one day, nothing's working. Site is down, never came back up again. So that school was NCAA compliant because it was parent facilitated. That's what they told us. So when looking at online schools, you need to make sure that they are NCAA compliant. But how do you really know?
Well, that's a great question, because you got to do some research, because there are only a few out there, to be honest with you, that are strictly online NCAA compliant, to where you don't have to, actually live in that state or be in a hockey program. So in other words, like if you're not associated with a hockey program that's running a NCAA compliant school and you're playing juniors, there's only a couple of options, to be honest. But if you have any questions of whether they're NCAA compliant or not, reach out to us and we'll do our research as well. We might already know about that school. But the only ones that I know that are off the top of my head are the Liberty University, strictly online. And there's a program called Excellior, which is hard to pronounce. Those are the only 2 that I've found that are NCAA compliant, strictly online, where you can live anywhere in the country and take that. There's some other things that you can do, but That's the only ones I know of.
The North American Hockey League pushes Apex pretty well. I know that one's compliant. Florida Virtual School Global is compliant. We've been using that one for a long time. So
There's certain restrictions on that stuff, so you got to be careful.
Yeah. I guess they have to be public schools. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. You're right, and that's where it gets tricky because there are some kids that don't have the public school option to go do that, or their schools don't work with that, so they have to look for outside, truly online schools where there's no public school offered or whatever, and that's where I'm talking about. That's where those two schools come into play. And so again, every situation and every kid's different. So I think specifically we just need to go to each kid and figure out, what's the best solution for that particular kid and parent.
How do you feel about the possibility of the OHL, Western Hockey League, and Q allowing NCAA eligibility? We're hearing that's probably going to happen mid-August.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great idea, and I think it opens up all those opportunities for kids, but I do think it's going to create a lot of confusion as well for a lot of people. Just, now you're opened up all these other kids that are NCAA eligible. So how does that work? Does that mean all of a sudden a kid that's in the O that decides he wants to go to the NCAA, does that mean a commitment that's happened with another kid in the null is now taken away because they want this other kid? How far does it go back? How many years? I mean, if I got all a stipend and equipment, all this stuff last year or 2 years ago, does that mean I'm still not eligible, or does that mean it's waived? There's still a lot of questions. But I do like the fact that everybody has an equal opportunity to go to school if they want to, because, I mean, what do these kids know at 16 or 17 when they go and sign up for a team? Maybe they change their mind, but they can't go anywhere now. They're stuck, or they didn't know some of the rules, and so they go and they do something, and now they're stuck because they didn't actually know the actual rule.
Interesting. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about what happened at Northwestern to some extent.
Okay.
We're not coaches from every sport going to stop the gong show that is hazing. The situation at Northwestern got a longtime coach Can. He was there for 10 years, right? So
longer than that. He was a player. He was an assistant coach and a head coach for it's like almost 20 years he was there.
So I don't understand. It's pretty darn clear that sport in general is done with hazing. It's done with, in hockey, the stupid kangaroo court going on pretty much in every team across the continent. That stuff has to end. It's over, kids. Why are you guys trying to keep this stupidity going? I don't understand. And now look what's happening. You're losing coaches, you're losing players, and your reputation in this culture of cancellation will make it difficult to get a job later on. I would hate to be any kid from that gong show in Sheridan, Wyoming for a number of years ago. Every allegation was proven to be true. They did it. It's unreal that you guys cannot figure out that stupidity has reached the end of the railroad. Martin?
Yeah, I mean, this is a really touchy subject for me, being a longtime coach. As a head, I see both sides. Like I see as a head, first of all, hazing should be done. I'm done with all that. It's ridiculous. But as a head coach, you don't know everything that's going on, and you can't control everything. Now, can you make it well known that if people are doing any of this stuff and you find out about it, there's going to be, a lot of hell to pay? Sure. But what is that? What does that mean? Does it mean to kick them off the team? Does that mean other discipline things? But some of the stuff that was coming out that I was reading about, they were talking about hazing because they made freshmen run. To me, that's not hazing. To me, that's holding kids accountable and doing things that, I always had 6 a.m. runs if kids miss class, those type of things. To me, that's not hazing. That's teaching. But the stuff when kids are naked and humping and doing all these things in the shower, that is unacceptable. I also think there's different levels of hazing too. Like if you're making first year juniors dress up like females and go to dinner, that's totally different than getting naked in a locker room and doing stuff. So I mean, there's different levels. They're both hazing, but one is extreme.
It's 2023. People are iffy and touchy about every one of these subjects. And if you stamp out some parts of hazing, and especially of the sexual nature, the alphabet communities going to come back and say you're discriminating against us. If you tell someone no, you can't dress and drag and go to dinner, now they're going to come back and say, well, they have every right to dress and drag and go to dinner. I mean, we can't win, right? It's so, and I really try to keep my faith out of my hockey because it's not really appropriate to do that. But it's often said that when God has been taken out of the equation of so many elements of our society, all hell will break loose. And Martin, it has. And we're seeing crazy stuff all over the country, all over the world. And, the element of faith, and I don't care if you're Hindu, Muslim, Christian, or Catholic or Baptist, it doesn't matter. If you don't have that moral compass to help guide your life, and sports can be a part of that and help that, you're going to be in a situation where you're running around crazy. And we can see that in every aspect of society today, in our locker rooms, in our streets, in the stores. We're seeing all hell break loose. Martin?
Everybody knows the difference between right and wrong. And you know when things are wrong, you're pushing the envelope for whatever reason, whatever your agenda is. The thing that bothered me the most about this, and I'm not saying that the head coach shouldn't have been punished or fired, but when these things happen, and especially in football, because there's so many kids and you have so many assistant coaches, only the head coach was disciplined and then eventually fired. None of the assistant coaches, but I guarantee you the assistant coaches knew a lot of this before the head coach. So I know that the head coach is the ultimate person that is responsible, but why are the assistant coaches not responsible in any way? Because as you know, in a program, if you're an assistant hockey coach or basketball coach or football coach or any other sport, you probably know things before the head coach and you tell the head coach a lot of stuff. So I don't get that. That bothers me, I think.
You know what? Those guys will be guilty by association within the market. The market has an amazing way of punishing those beyond what our justice system in schools will be willing to do. We see that in hockey all the time. There's coaches that are deemed untouchable because of alcohol problems. There's coaches that cannot get a job because they have a high level of use of profanity and no one wants them anymore. It doesn't, the society is going to make their own judgments, and it's ultimately what keeps guys from moving up the ladder of development and the coaching side. We see coaches that are embedded within leagues. They've been there for 20 years because they can't climb out from under that league. That's the way it is. Maybe they get placed.
Yeah. What about and I talked about the assistant coaches, the kids. How are they accountable for what they've done too? I mean, I haven't seen anything on the news about people getting suspended or kicked out of school or anything like that. Where's their repercussions? I mean, so there's a lot of stuff that I just don't understand, I guess.
That's our world, buddy. That's our world. Let's close on that. We hope that you enjoy.
You know what I got?
We got water.